Welcome to CTV News Your Canada. It's Thursday, March 20th. We'll bring you profiles of fascinating Canadians and stories about your community. Thanks for watching.
"2,000 people eagerly await the opening movement of Tchaikovsky's Swan Lake. Maestro David Briskin does something unexpected. Our national anthem fills the Four Seasons Center for the Performing Arts. Patrons stand and cheer, and some even sing along.
I wanted it to be authentic, and I said, so let's not commit to how long we do it, how many performances, let's give it a try. But the result was just beyond anyone's imagination. It seemed to have provided a cathartic moment.
It catches some by surprise. There's no announcement beforehand. Briskin says it started about 10 days ago with a recommendation by one of his orchestra members.
This is a moment to take one anthem that we all know, that we all sing, and raise our voices as one in show of support for one another and for the country.
The anthem opening is part of a 17-show run of Swan Lake, performed by the National Ballet of Canada. The arts offer an escape from the daily political headlines, especially the ongoing tariff wars. Still, Briskin says this is in no way a political statement.
It's really touched me quite deeply to see the response. As I said, you know, we hear "O Canada" before a hockey game, and we hear it at a baseball game, and it's kind of pro forma, or we'll hear it sung kind of stylized by someone. But this is just a very straightforward singing of the anthem, which just provides a moment of clarity and unity, and I think just a little bit of catharsis for people in these times.
And patrons seem to welcome the patriotic opening.
Although it's not the greatest circumstances that we start doing these things more often, start feeling this national pride, I'm really grateful for it, and it's something that we really need.
And I was so happy to be here, to be able to stand up and then sing the national anthem as well. So if they continue on, it's in solidarity for the whole nation.
The anthem has created plenty of interest online and on social media with more than 96,000 views. John Musselman, CTV News.
Help! I need somebody. Help! Not just anybody. Help!
This was his favorite Beatles song when he was 11 years old, growing up in Toronto. Back then, he was independent, so much so that he and his 13-year-old stepsister went to the Maple Leaf Gardens by themselves to buy tickets for the Beatles concert.
And we took Toronto Transit down to Maple Leaf Gardens, and we negotiated with a scalper, and we bought our tickets. The ticket had a face value of $5.50. I think we paid around $12. And we saw the Beatles.
And he still has that ticket stub. Like many fans back then, Carr's room had all kinds of Beatles collectibles, and he's kept some today.
The Beatles did what you would call like baseball cards or hockey cards. They did Beatles cards, so I have those. And when Hard Day's Night came out, which of course was in black and white, some of the cards are in black and white, and then as they moved on, some of them are in color.
The National Music Centre created an exhibit called From Me to You, The Beatles in Canada. It opened in July last year and has been extended to the middle of May.
We worked closely with Piers Hemingson, who is by far the Canadian authority on the Beatles, and we worked with him, and he wrote the copy, and then we put the whole exhibition together design-wise.
Jesse Moffat says a Beatles concert only lasted about a half an hour, and most of the fans never heard them play because everyone was screaming non-stop. Parts of the exhibit are interactive, where people can write down anything about the Beatles that relates to them.
There's so many stories, and it transcends generations. So you've got, one of my favorites is my grandmother dated Ringo Starr. Right? Wasn't that fun?
The exhibit is a tribute to Beatlemania, along with the impact the Fab Four had in Canada. Kevin Fleming, CTV News, Calgary.
French toast. It's not just for breakfast anymore. The 7th annual Festival of Egg-Soaked Bread is well underway in Amherst.
A lot of love is what goes into it, and local blueberries.
But the key ingredient? Bread and eggs, of course. Good thing the town has an egg factory, a bread producing facility, and is also surrounded by sugar maple woods.
What better time when the maple syrup is running? You know, we have a huge maple syrup business in northern Nova Scotia, and we're trying to take advantage of that.
The municipality is also trying to boost restaurant business and foot traffic.
A lot of local vegetables and fruit around here to make it happen, and a lot of people in this community willing to put the effort into making 1 week big for the town.
Everyone coming together to create community vibrancy and a delicious dish.
It really is a slower time of the year. You know, when business starts picking, it slows down after Christmas and it starts picking up in around April and that type of thing. Well, we're trying to give a little injection.
Everyone coming together to create community vibrancy and a delicious dish.
Certainly, lots of good restaurants nearby, right? So nice to support local and have a great meal at the same time.
Well, it's a late breakfast, and seeing a picture of it, and I know the festival is going on, so figure we're going to partake.
There's 10 participating cafes and restaurants here in town. The Amherst French Toast Fest wraps up on Sunday, and the important thing to remember is French toast isn't just for breakfast. Bon appetit. Derek Haggett, CTV News, Amherst.
Ready to go?
These arms are mid-battle, but when you zoom out, one of the competitors may come as a surprise.
Push hard.
At just 14 years old, Iti Manchanda is muscling her way to the top in the sport of arm wrestling. And she's doing it rather quickly, only getting into it about a year ago.
My most big competition was the Asian International. So I won first place there in my age and weight categories. And then I also won the Canadian National Championship and the Ontario Provincials. So yeah, those are three of my biggest ones. And then there's also the Michigan State.
Earning her the title of top-ranked female arm wrestler for her age and weight class. Here's how she got there.
So this used to be our dining area. So we have converted the dining area now into a gym.
From eating food to eating up the competition, her dad has helped her rise.
Since she's born, she's strong. She's on the stronger side. Even back in India, I used to go to the gym and she used to come with me, and I think she was 4 years old. And she used to hold 5-pound dumbbells and she used to just copy what I'm doing.
And it's paid off. Wanting to test her strength, naturally, she began challenging him to arm wrestles.
And then my mom was like, okay, since you love arm wrestling so much, why don't we find you an actual club you can train at and compete?
So that's exactly what she did, joining Table Monkeys in Toronto, where she gets professional coaching.
A lot of people think arm wrestling is all just physical, but it's a lot about your mental game also.
Another aspect she's wrestling with, trying to get more girls involved in the sport.
Because they're not enough, definitely. Like I go to a tournament and I'm only with 2 other girls every single time.
To expand her range of competition, she'll be up against people much older than her.
I want to see if I could take down the Canadian 18-year-olds.
And of course, E.T.'s ultimate goal is being crowned world champion, and she's well on her way. Spencer Turcotte, CTV News,
Waterloo.
Good.
It's strength, determination. 16-year-old Sidney Rouleau's goals are as big as he is.
Where are we going to see your name 5 or 8 years from now?
Probably in the NFL.
Gatineau-born, he's 6'7", weighs 290 pounds, and filled with a passion for football.
It's like a family, so like if we win, it's like we're all together.
So that's all grip strength.
He's getting noticed. A number of U.S. colleges are pursuing him.
25 offers. I'm just enjoying the moment, so like it's exciting.
Top-tier schools such as Alabama, Georgia, Michigan, all the top football programs in the U.S.
If he wants to commit right now, he could. They're all committable.
Drops the post.
Full scholarships for a Canadian, his father says, is rare.
Like Georgia, the offer from Georgia. Yeah. I think maybe there's 3 or 4 Canadians so far in 25 years that have been offered from them.
We're so happy for him too. You know, he's getting a great education. That's number one for us, and he's loving what he does.
Does he have what it takes?
This is a guy that's going to be in the NFL for sure. Push it forward.
The grade 10 student attends high school in New Jersey, playing football. Home for March break, spending his time training.
Checks every box, you know, the mindset, the physical, the nutrition, the discipline, the determination.
And then, to top it all off, he has the perfect size and the speed just to excel to his game.
Perhaps one day we may see him in the Super Bowl.
Wow, that's going to be unreal.
Am I getting too far ahead here?
Maybe a little bit, but it's going to be very exciting.
Oh, yeah.
That's what you call good react. That was amazing. Sick.
Peter Sperling, CTV News.
Storage is a little bit limited.
At just 720 square feet, this oil field style trailer doesn't have much elbow room.
Not a lot of space for my 3 kids, but it's doable. This is kind of like their playroom.
Charlene Teotiu and her family moved in at the end of February after months living in a hotel suite. Jasperites like Teotiu, who lost their homes in last summer's wildfire, are starting to move into newly installed trailer neighborhoods in town.
It's gorgeous.
Tracy Hahn is reflecting on how lucky she and her partner are to stay in Jasper while the apartment building they lived in is rebuilt.
We're actually in the town, and we're in our own soul place, and it's great, and the view's still there, and we're loving it.
After the provincial government backed out of its pledge to fund interim housing in Jasper, the town and Parks Canada scrambled to secure as many trailers as possible. Dozens of people have now moved in.
It feels like a community. People are moved in, they're getting to know their neighbors, there's kids running around playing, there's bicycles outside.
Mayor Richard Ireland says with temporary housing coming online, he sends his stress levels coming down for Jasperites, although he knows there's a long road ahead.
The interim housing units are expected to be here for at least 2 years, maybe as long as 5 in some cases, and it will take that sort of time frame to get everybody's house rebuilt.
Eventually, most of this land will become low-rise apartments. In the meantime, staff are working to find more temporary units. 600 households expressed interest in the housing. That's about 1,300 people. There's enough space now for roughly half of them.
There's still a significant number of households that we have not been able to accommodate that are looking for interim housing.
Town staff expect demand for the trailers will ebb and flow as people's needs change.
I have to put each kid clothes in the bin.
For Teotiu and her family of 5, it's just too tight a squeeze. After 26 years, she's leaving Jasper, a painful decision to separate from a community that includes 2 sisters and longtime friends like Twyla Patterson.
When I first moved here, her and her family really took us in. And I'm sad to see her go.
I have no other options, but
I mean, you need to do what's best for your family.
For my family, yeah.
Those in charge admit it's an imperfect housing solution, but one they believe is necessary for the tourist town's recovery as it gears up for a critical summer season. Jeremy Thompson, CTV News, Jasper.
Dr. Robin Nathanson snapped this photo of the long customs lineup at Trudeau Airport when he was on his way to the United States. Minutes later, he says there was a commotion.
I saw a gentleman on the ground, and then I kind of reached down. I saw he wasn't conscious, and I reached for a pulse. He unfortunately did not have a pulse, so immediately started CPR on him.
With the aid of an automated defibrillator, it took him and a paramedic 8 minutes to get a pulse back. The patient survived and is now in hospital. His family is grateful.
I think there was a lot of, panic or worry because very few people knew, what to do in this situation.
Dr. Nathanson went public with his story in an effort to get more people to sign up for CPR training. He says you don't need to work in an ER to know how to respond to an emergency.
I didn't have fancy monitoring. This was not a resuscitation bay in a hospital. This was the middle of the customs line at the Montreal airport with the bare minimum.
According to the Heart and Stroke Foundation, 60,000 out-of-hospital cardiac arrests occur in Canada every year. But only 1 in 10 people survive such incidents.
6, 7, 8.
That's why there's a big push to teach more people this life-saving skill. Trainer Wafi Saida says it's something anyone can learn.
When I taught that for my kids, for my wife, she's a daycare educator, and so it's very important in our communities to have this culture because there is no one is exemption from cardiac arrest.
Saida says too few people know what to do in an emergency, or they wait for an ambulance to arrive, but by then it could be too late.
And these minutes can change your life, can change your survival rate, your brain injury.
Along with advanced CPR, SIDA teaches the basics, which includes hands-only CPR where no mouth-to-mouth is required. Automated defibrillators keep you on pace and monitor the patient's progress. Most courses are under $100 and should be done every 2 years. A small investment that can make a big difference for someone else. Denise Roberts, CTV News.
Tariff talk is dominating many conversations at Canada's farm show.
You know, these tariffs have certainly thrown up a threat to our industry and a number of concerns for our industry that affect the whole value chain, but I think farmers and primary producers significantly. So, you know, I think everybody's looking for sort of the path forward and what we could suggest could be done to improve this situation.
Wood is a producer from west of Regina. He took part in the panel discussion of the political picture impacting the egg sector. He says trade is regularly discussed at the farm show, but tariffs have not been the most common until this year, leaving many with questions about navigating the volatile situation. Senior strategist Grant McClellan says there are many big hurdles for those on the land right now, and they need the public's backing more than ever.
It comes back to this Team Canada approach. We need to be supporting each other, supporting our industries and supporting our producers, frankly, and that includes all levels of government. I think there's opportunity to continue to grow this sector, but certainly we need to work together and make sure that we're supporting our producers and our industry at this time.
The United States and China are both major egg trading partners for Saskatchewan producers. Wood says if a trade sours, they can usually go to the other and move things along. But this current situation takes both markets out of the equation.
And it's really the combination of those factors combined with some other, things that have happened around the world that just make this a much more difficult situation to deal with.
Afternoon discussions shifted to the current state of the canola industry. Cargill spoke about the construction of a canola processing plant northwest of Regina. They did briefly touch on tariffs, but are largely optimistic about the future of canola. Mick Favel, CTV News, Regina.
We take all our data from the summer, what's busy, what's not, and then in winter we go, hey, let's get some here, let's get some here.
The City of Windsor has added parking spots across the city and have projects on the go to help improve service to residents. One of the things is 8 new parking spots on Chatham Street between Goyo and Olette. Some may view them as a money grab.
No, it's not just about the revenue that we collect, it's turnover for the businesses. These are all transient parking spots, so parking here for the maximum 2 hours that is here is going to help a business.
Earlier this week, these 3 spots were added on University Avenue, which were welcomed by businesses.
Now with the new bike lanes, the adjustments there, the turning lane is over about 20 feet. So now there is more room to make your radius curve. So boom, now it's safe.
Accessible spots were added on Victoria, which helps downtown visitors. There are also 14 new spots on Drouillard Road in Ford City, including accessible parking.
In front of the Gino A. Marcus Community Center, we got 3 new accessible parking spots for the people that need those.
Many of the new spots have parking meters with a yellow base. Older ones could be painted as well to help point out the obvious. With new bike lanes, parking was restructured on Victoria and Palliser. Victoria was tweaked a bit back in the wintertime, and the changes have worked out well.
From the biking community, we got all thumbs up. Even the original naysayers, once we fix some things up, they're all, wow, that works well. What are you going to do next?
Downtown BIA Chair Chris McLeod likes the changes and the new parking spots downtown, but would like to see the city get rid of coined meters.
The city already uses the Passport parking app. I watch the coin collectors come down here and take coins out of these meters. I mean, it's archaic.
Some positive changes and some valuable input as well. Hey, Ricardo, how about I leave you with a little known fact? What do you think? So did you know that if you have an accessible parking pass, you are allowed to park in a commercial parking spot? There's a caveat though, you can't do it until after hours because a lot of deliveries happen during the day. So yeah, if you have an accessible parking pass, you are allowed to park in a commercial parking spot. Who knew? Something new every day, right? Back over to you.
Exactly that, Bob. Those with the pass, Bob's got your back. Thanks, Bob.
All the concrete from roof down comes out to open up the atrium.
Concrete pillars and aging hardwoods hold together what's left of the former Hudson's Bay building's 5th floor. Now, towering over the shell of the historic department store is a massive yellow crane.
The installation of this tower crane is more than just an engineering feat. It is a symbol of what's possible when we come together with a shared purpose.
The crane is a construction milestone for the Southern Chiefs organization's redevelopment, a project that 3 years in has seen sky-high costs.
This is attributed to a combination of increasing accurate budgeting, evolution of design, and pricing since the general contractor has been confirmed.
Grand Chief Jerry Daniels says the original $130 million budget has now ballooned to $310 million due to material costs, heritage building upgrades, structural reinforcements, and meeting modern energy efficiency standards. Daniels says the scope has also changed. The new concept has 373 residential units, 200 earmarked for First Nations citizens, a daycare, as well as retail and office spaces. No longer firm, he says, is the design for the residential school survivor monument, the health and wellness center, and the museum space. Out for sure are the assisted living units.
So you need government funding to support that, and so we weren't able to ensure that that was going to be the case, so we put that aside for now.
Since the cost has more than doubled, one supply chain management professor suspects there's been a large fundamental change since inflation and tariffs alone wouldn't make up for it all.
In general, the two biggest costs are going to be materials and labor. Right, so if right up front there was a consistent estimate of materials and labor, it would be quite exceptional to see a tripling in costs, right?
Daniels says funding is secure for 85% of Phase 1, and SCO has a plan to get the rest.
We will get there, and I guarantee that our team is well prepared for that.
Now, the opening date for the reimagined building is the second quarter of 2028, and Daniel says one thing that remains is that the residential school's totem pole that was gifted to them will still get a prominent spot inside the building.
Michelle, as we well know, the future of Hudson's Bay Company is not clear. So does its creditor protection case have any impact on this project?
Well, Daniel says no, not at all, but he did say if any other First Nations organizations want to do a similar project inside any of the potentially empty Hudson's Bay buildings in their cities, the SCO would be willing to lend a hand.
Interesting. All right, thanks for this, Michelle.
To appreciate why Karen Hedit-Nemi was so surprised by what she found buried in her garden.
Just as I was scraping the top surface of the dirt, there was a metal object.
To appreciate how meaningful it was to discover this dog tag from 1950.
I felt this instant comfort wash over me.
We need to go back to when Catherine met Gary Salmon in 2018.
We had each lost our spouse to cancer.
After connecting during an online grief class, they formed a friendship while hiking the Camino Trail in Spain that led to a long-distance romance between New Jersey and BC.
Wanting to not only move forward, but recapture some of the joy of everyday living.
Eventually, they married, and Gary moved to Canada along with his dog Muffin, who loved to have breakfast with Karen in the garden.
And Muffin would sit at my feet and wait to lick the yogurt bowl. I mean, how could I say no?
Muffin was a constant companion, even when the 16-year-old's health started declining rapidly.
She had her treats, and she had lots of good snuggly naps. We loved on her a lot that day.
That day that Muffin died, that was followed by days filled with her absence being palpable.
You look out of the corner of your eye and expect to see them there. You think you see them, and they're not there. Is difficult.
As Karen reflects on her relationship with Muffin, she allows herself to feel all her feelings, including gratitude.
That this pet filled our life with love.
Which brings us back to that discovery in the dirt.
If I had found that tag next year, it probably wouldn't have touched my heart the way that it did that morning.
Despite spending countless hours working with Muffin in this garden over the past years, Karen found a tag belonging to a previous owner's long-deceased dog just days after her own pet had passed.
It was whimsical. It brought a little bit of joy.
And while it could be a coincidence, or maybe a message from Muffin, Karen says it's definitely a reminder that if we keep our hearts open, finding love and life after loss
is possible.
And as silly as it seems, I like to imagine the little spirit dog playing with Muffin.
Adam Sawatsky, CTV News, Victoria.